I just want to touch on something, Liam, that emerges from this game. I was watching it live, and I actually rang John. I could see the moment when he was racially abused by a small group of Chelsea fans, and I could lip read watching the television what they were saying. It was a deeply unpleasant moment, and John had also seen it. There is this residual racism, isn't there, in England that spills over into football, and it's pretty disgusting. And I think Sterling has drawn attention to it yesterday by saying, to some extent, he blames the media. It's pretty disgusting, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And like, we remember, all three of us as Irish players, what was said to us when we were playing.
Yeah.
But the game has improved. The game has improved in that respect. It hasn't gone away, Eamon. They've just quietened these people down.
Yes.
They've just shut them up, and they're fearful that they'll get banned and things like that. So they'll be singled out and banned. So it has improved in that respect, but it hasn't gone away, particularly for black people.
And quite a bit about...
I thought Sterling was absolutely right to highlight the media,
yes.
how they portray, let's say a young black player against a young white player, So I think he's done well to draw attention to it, but it has improved, but it hasn't gone away, and football is just a reflection of society.
Yes.
But football needs to get its act together, and Chelsea need to make an example of those so-called fans that abused the lad on Saturday.
Yeah, John, Sterling said yesterday that he compared the way a young lad at City, Foden, had bought a home for his mother, and the Daily Mail was the culprit in both instances. They had the Foden story as a positive, a nice thing. He bought a £2 million home for his mother, and it was great. He's a kid. Then Raheem Sterling said, if you contrast that with the way a young black player had bought a home, and he spent roughly the same amount of money buying a home for his mother, but they had a tag at the end of the story, and he hasn't even played in the first team yet. In other words, one was a story, a nice story of a boy buying his mother a home. The other was, who does this guy think he is? He hasn't played in the first team yet, and he's spending a couple of million on a home. That kind of insidious racism is in the media.
Well, it can be. It's still there. We haven't got rid of it by any means. If you go back to the old days when you played and I played and Liam played, it was outrageously bad. It has improved, and Liam has said that. But I think what happens to people, Eamon, and funny enough, when they go to football matches particularly, they become different people.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those guys that you would, that were shouting at Sterling or abusing him and that. Like if you got them outside, Eamon, they could be the least racist people you ever come across in your life.
I don't agree with that.
You don't? Okay.
No, you're either a racist or you're not. It wouldn't occur to people who weren't racist to...
Eamon, I'm not saying they're not racist. I think that football brings the worst out of some people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying that. I'm against race. I always have been. I signed the first two black players ever, Eamon. So I never had any rows with.
Oh no, I'm not accusing you by any means.
No, I know you're not, and I think I'm not expressing myself very well when I say this. Of course, what they did to Sterling on Saturday was totally outrageous, and I would totally disagree with it.
Yeah. Just to move on, Liam, just before we leave that question, from your time at Arsenal as head of youth development, you would have signed a lot of young black players, and it's a pity. It's not football's problem, as you say. It's society's problem, spilling over into football, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I don't know whether you saw John Barnes this morning. He was on the breakfast news on the BBC here, and he articulated it very, very well. What not only young black players have to go through, but also black people.
Yes.
And but you're trying to change probably views that have been within certain white people for, hundreds of years. So
Yes.
it's going to take time, but football, as I say, has got to be an example, and Chelsea have got to set the benchmark now on those 3 or 4 guys
Yes.
that abuse Sterling, and they've got to have their tickets taken away, and they've got to be banned from the ground, and that will tell everybody that football's trying to do something about it.
Yeah. Okay.